Hi, I'm Heather Hawker, President and CEO of the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, and this is Cleft Notes. On today's episode, I'm visiting with Maestro David Cho, and we are excited to talk about our final masterworks of the season, the May 23rd concert, Celebrate America. David, thanks for joining me on Cleft Notes.
I'm thrilled to speak with you today.
As the conductor, you did a fantastic job of putting this selection together. Walk us through the programming for Celebrate America.
About 3 years ago, I was approached with the idea of celebrating the birthday of our wonderful country. And what an amazing opportunity it was, because I moved to the States almost 50 years ago. And we came here because of the hope and the resilience and the vision and the American dream that really resonated with me. And this entire program that we'll present have that theme in every piece we play. Normally at a Symphony Masterworks, we would have 3 or 4 at the most different pieces. But in the evening of May 23rd, you will hear an array.
Okay, so we kick off with American Salute. Talk a little bit about Morton Gold and why you selected that piece.
Morton Gould's American Salute was written during a very tense global conflict, and it was an avenue for the composer to instill some wit, hope, and set of variations on Johnny Comes Marching Home and My Country 'Tis of Thee, all these folk songs and well-known national anthems to integrate into a set of variations that is brilliant. We feature the brass and, of course, the woodwind solos, and it's a wonderful way to open a program.
And then we move into Charles Ives, Variation on America, Scott Joplin, The Entertainer. We've got some Gershwin in there with An American in Paris, everyone's favorite. Then we've got Aaron Copland. But I really want to talk about the 1812 Overture. You know, there's lots of conversation about Tchaikovsky. Really, we have a direct tie back to Arthur Fiedler. And in 1974, in the Boston Pops, he played the 1812 Overture for the 4th of July concert in Boston. And we've been doing that ever since. And I want to tie back to Bill Harrod, the founder of the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra. He and Arthur Fiedler were colleagues and friends, and Maestro Fiedler came to Lubbock on several different occasions as a guest conductor of the Lubbock Symphony. So talk us through 1812 Overture and your love for it.
Maestro Bill Harrod, our founding conductor, befriended Arthur Fiedler over the years during his tenure here. There were a couple of instances when Arthur Fiedler actually visited and guest conducted the Lubbock Symphony. And there is a wonderful story about how Maestro Harrod invited this esteemed maestro only just to tell a joke. Apparently, he took him to the tallest building in Lubbock. I guess that's the NTS building.
Probably at that time. Would this been in 1960? Was that his first visit, I'm guessing?
60 and 70, somewhere in the
75.
70s.
Yeah, I know he was here
and
2 different occasions.
Apparently, Bill Harrod and Arthur Fiedler went up to the roof of the tall building. And apparently, Bill Harrod was a very humorous guy. And Arthur Fiedler was wondering, so Bill, why did you bring me up to this top of the building, on top of this roof? And Bill Harrod apparently said, well, I always wanted to see the Fiedler on the roof.
That's cute. Cute.
So you were mentioning how the Boston Pops during the 60s and 70s, during the height of Cold War, had the guts to program a Russian composer's piece. And to this day, I do not know what catapulted this popularity of outdoor repertoire. I think just looking at the surface of things, the fact that the overture ends with live cannons, loud chimes and bells, heroic rendition of this brilliant overture was very attractive to outdoor concerts, because only outdoor during a hot summer day, July 4th, you can have live cannoneers. And I think that really is a component that became popular.
Mm-hmm. We will not have fireworks, though, in Buddy Holly Hall, and we're not going to have a live cannon, but you do have a few surprises for the audience.
Well, we're going to have musical fireworks because American music is all about virtuosity and resilience. And there is so much lyricism in the symphonic repertoire written by American composers. Yes, we will not have live cannoneers. However, thanks to the technology at the Buddy Holly Hall, we are going to feed the cannon shot sounds, files that we can push into the speakers. We'll have sounds that will sound like cannons. However, there won't be any smoke.
No smoke. Our symphony will make its own fabulous sounds. And we want to sell out Buddy Holly Hall on May the 23rd, Saturday, May 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Celebrate America.
Yes. How exhilarating is it? I mean, everyone has been asking us about when are we going to play Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture? Yeah, it's a popular piece that has an interesting history. 1812 has nothing to do with the War of 1812 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It actually had to do with 1812 war that happened between France and Russia. Russia ended up winning, and the emperor asked, who is the best composer in our country? And somebody, some prime minister or something said, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. He writes ballet scores. Why don't we give him an opportunity to write this national emblem overture called, well, it wasn't called 1812 then, but to celebrate the victory of Russians over France.
Right.
And it begins with very solemn soli from the violas and cellos. And it depicts the war and conflict of the two countries. And of course, at the end, there is that brilliant hymn and the fireworks and cannons.
Well, and great for the Boston Pops. They've been playing it every 4th of July since then. And it is part of celebrating America and our 250th celebration. David, why is it so important that this performance reflect the missions and goals of the Lubbock Symphony?
The vision of the symphony over the past 8 decades has been, in reading in between the lines of our mission statement, how we can inspire our musicians and have this almost religious experience at a live concert to connect the two parts at the concert hall, the stage and the audience. Why is a live performance integral in being a human? We can always listen to a perfectly cut sound file or a CD or a LP at home in your living room, but there's nothing like being in the same room with 2,000 other people to share the emotional experience instilled in the performance by the great composers like Tchaikovsky, Morton Gould, Aaron Copland, who we should definitely talk about, and a composer who we consider as the Mozart among American composers, George Gershwin.
All right, let's shift to Aaron Copland. We were fortunate this spring with our chamber concert to hear Appalachian Spring, and you're bringing Copland, which, you know, he's up in my top 10 list, of course, of all composers. So talk about variations on Shaker Melody and Hoedown from Rodeo.
Well, those two pieces are extracts from a larger piece. First, the variations on Shaker Melody was extracted from Aaron Copland's ballet score called Appalachian Spring, which you just mentioned that the Lubbock Symphony Chamber Orchestra recently played. And it's a hymn written by this kind of Amish-like community, Shaker community. In Maine, there was an elder in the community, Shaker community, who thought and valued the simplicity of American culture and the Shaker culture and composed this famous tune called Simple Gifts. And Aaron Copland directly quoted in his ballet score. And to this day, this has become something that resonated with our core of being an American.
Talk about audience participation for the evening, because it is very, very important as you finish with Bob Loden's arrangement of the Armed Forces Salute.
Yes. So this being a patriotic concert, we couldn't help but take up on the opportunity to recognize those who served in the armed forces. There are 6 different divisions, one of which is rather new, Space Force.
Right.
When Bob Loden, the wonderful American arranger, wrote this armed forces salute, Space Force did not exist. So we actually will leave out the Semper Supra, which is the theme song for Space Force. However, we would like to engage our audience by having our veterans in the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Army to stand.
Yes. And then to conclude, we'll have John Philip Sousa, Stars and Stripes Forever.
John Philip Sousa was a band director. And there is another piece of history that our founding conductor's father played the bass trombone in John Philip Sousa's ensemble. Can you believe that?
I can believe that. The Herod family has such a rich history of connections. We are so fortunate to have that great history.
One pianist or arranger who I would like to credit for making John Philip Sousa's Stars and Stripes Forever is Vladimir Horowitz. He was probably the greatest pianist to have lived during the 20th century. He was a Russian immigrant who became a United States citizen during the 40s. And he took this Sousa march and transcribed it into a piano solo piece. And to this day, when you hear the recording of his Carnegie Hall performance, the shiver and the goosebumps that goes through your body, it is truly not only virtuosic, but orchestral. I mean, how he can make one instrument sound like a 100-piece orchestra. It's truly amazing. And everybody knows about, in the middle of the march, there is a piccolo soli where 3 or 4 flute section members will stand and play their miniature flute called the piccolo. And speaking of audience participation, at the end of the Sousa March, we're going to have our audience sing along to the lyrics to Stars and Stripes. So it's going to be truly moving experience when you come to May 23rd concert, our Celebrate America concert presented by the Lubbock Symphony.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about our 6 o'clock concert before the concert featuring Hannah Jackson and her band, with a huge thanks to our sponsors for the evening, Armstrong. I also want to thank our friends at Double T Smiles. They will have a table of the missing man, which will be a solemn tribute to those who have served our country. And then a huge thanks to our friends at United Supermarkets. They are actually sponsoring several of our veterans for the evening and their families to join us through the South Plains Honor Flight. It is going to be such a special evening on Saturday, May the 23rd. We want all of you listening today to call 806-762-1688 or visit us online at lubbocksymphony.org to reserve your tickets today. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure, Heather. Thank you.
Season tickets for fall 2026 and spring 2027 are available now. Please call our box office at 806 762-1688. You can find the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra on social media, and to purchase tickets, visit our website at lubbocksymphony.org and be sure to download the Classical 105.7 app so you never miss an episode of Cliff Notes. Make it a great day. Thanks.